Alright, how's it going everybody? Welcome to this week's weekly watch list video brought to you by DFU and the Trade Lab. As always, we're going to run through my focus list for this upcoming trading week, talk through the setups, the pivot points, and how I'd likely manage risk on these trades. We'll also, in the second section, run through a bunch of names that you guys suggested and wanted my take on. So thanks to everybody who submitted ideas. And if there's any stocks that we're not going through today that you'd like to hear my thoughts on, let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts right there. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First things first, wasn't super impressed going through my screens this week. Doesn't seem to be quite as many of the setups that I like to trade, tight ranges near key levels. A lot of stuff pushed off their 10 EMAs, especially last week. There are a lot of 10 EMA pullbacks that acted really nicely and expanded, but there were a few, and that's basically the ones that we'll go through today. So let me know your thoughts as we go through. What are your kind of top 3 ideas going into next week? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So AMSC, been watching this for quite some time. This is a strong semiconductor name. And let me go ahead and make the chart just a little bit bigger here. There's a strong semiconductor related name acting well and just pushed out of a base, a high tight flag actually, and now is pulling back and consolidating near the 21 EMA. A little bit of some downside reversals to end last week, but still overall within this range. So I'm watching for a range re-breakout and likely setting my stop at the low of the day on that breakout day. And that's pretty much where I set my stop 99% of the time, is on the low of the day as it's pushing up towards or through that pivot, setting my stop at the existing low of the day at that instant. So that is AMSC, a strong name, strong trend, and watching for fall through up and a push towards these previous highs. Moving on, we've got Barrick Mining Corporation, ticker symbol B. This is in, of course, the miners theme. This theme has been extremely strong. SSRM is another great name to study within this theme. And this is setting up a range right near the 10 EMA, good upside reversal and very tight day. The kind of drawback for this setup is it's a little bit more extended from the last significant base down here. And for me, this is more of a swing trade type setup than something I would want to place, a whole new position trade. Back in here, good for swing traders and position traders. Strong trend since then, but now it's a little bit more extended, a little bit longer within its trend, but setting up a potential spot for it to reconfirm. This bar as well, downside reversal on bigger volume, could suggest that it needs a little bit more of a full new base before it's ready to make another significant move. But this is a name that can be swing traded really nicely. You can see a 20% swing in the matter of days, and a good ADR as well, 4.11%. So watching again for an expansion from this range breakout. Coreweave, recent IPO, likely all of you guys are familiar with this name, setting up kind of a spot against this pivot, did pull back below it last week, but held that 10 EMA and watching for a re-breakout through that level and ideally following through. I'd love to see an inside day to start out next week, tighten this up even further and, create that contraction that can really lead to some expansion. Again, this is a name that can really make a move when it goes, and this is related, of course, to the data center AI theme. So definitely in play here if it can continue to set up constructively and push out from this base. NBIS, very similar type name, has been stronger, and we'll actually go through that chart in just a minute. But so far, this one is a little bit more primed for a move in the short term next week. So that is Coreweave. Next up, we've got SHC, a strong move from this gap up on earnings, now setting up within this base. And let me draw in the base pivot as well here. There we go. And setting up a range after a big upside reversal. I love these ranges after the upside reversal. And by the way, guys, if you haven't yet watched my Breakouts webinar, I broke down my full process for trading bases, early entries, all of that. Went through a lot of the details that I think a lot of people just don't share or don't go through, and that will be linked down below. Highly recommend checking that out. I got great feedback. Thanks to everybody who attended live, great questions, great interactions, and definitely check that video out after this one if you haven't just yet seen it. So again, looking for a range breakout, basically double inside days right on the 21 EMA, and watching for expansion here, ideally taking out this early pivot and then breaking out through the base pivot, and want to get involved more in this area versus waiting for the actual base breakout. So that is SHC, and good earnings expected, earnings growth expected in the future. Moving on, we've got BETR, very fast name, definitely more of a swing trade, aggressive style trade. And again, know what type of stocks you trade well. There's going to be some people who love to specialize in these very high ADR names, like a BETR, and can trade them really effectively and compound very quickly. But I think for most people, especially people who are working full time, aren't able to watch the markets, super closely early in the morning to catch these type of names and also manage risk if they're breaking down, are better suited to more, the 3 to 5% ADR names that trend a little bit smoother. They can still make great moves, but are just going to be a little bit easier to trade on a longer time frame than these type of names. These are more swing trade type setups. We did fade last week on Friday, but basically watching for reconfirmation, re-breakout through this level, push off this level, and starting, a significant move. This, of course, can move very, very quickly. And this is kind of definitely a name to keep an eye on. A lot of neglect here, strong move up, and maybe setting kind of the next leg up here if we can form out and push higher from this level. Moving on, we've got Lyft. This is one that's made a nice move over the past few weeks, and now is consolidating within this price shelf against the 10 EMA. Basically watching for a range breakout through this early level, and then also breaking out through this level. This price shelf overall really tight, holding this gap up, which I like to see. And good earnings growth expected, and good earnings growth last quarter as well. You can see that kind of triggered this move here. So watching for follow through to the upside. This one hasn't been a great trader if we go over to a weekly chart, but it's potentially starting a new stage 2 uptrend. And I don't see many people talking about this name. Basically double inside weeks in spirit here. So watching for either a longer base to form or a breakout and continuation of this stage 2 breakout. And I don't see many people talking about this name, so definitely an area of focus for me early next week. Moving on, we've got recent IPO, BLSH, and this is definitely a more speculative name. Doesn't earn anything, or actually it was profitable last quarter, which is interesting enough, but more speculative. I think their headquarters are in the Cayman Islands, so keep that in mind. More of a trading stock, swing trade stock, than something that's more of a classic true market leader. Let me say it that way. But again, push off these IPO based lows, now pulling back and forming a range against the 21 EMA. Pop higher on this Thursday, positive expectation breaker with a gap up after the negative close here. And then on Friday, it pulled back into this range area. So basically watching for some type of spot to get in, upside reversal versus this level. Positive expectation breaker can be a little bit creative to get in here. But basically, in general, looking for a range re-breakout and push higher, and ideally a test eventually of these highs. I think this can be a very fast mover, but you kind of have to get these type of stops, these kind of stocks right at the right point. So keep an eye on this one, but definitely more of a speculative name. And again, not suitable for all types of traders out there, more of the aggressive type who really like those high beta names. Moving on, we've got Crowdstrike forming out this cup and handle. Pull back here on Friday into the 10 EMA. We'll see if it respects this area, and basically watching for a re-breakout and then ultimately a breakout from this cup and handle. Maybe it tightens further and forms out a range here in this space. That would actually set up a great setup. But again, a name that's kind of been out of favor for quite some time, but can make amazing moves and more of those duration true market leader type moves than just a quick swing trade. So they raised guidance here, strong gap and go on that catalyst, and now setting up a consolidation pretty much within the range of that bar. So watching for a breakout from this cup and handle, from the handle of the cup and handle. So that was Crowdstrike. ALAB, this has been a strong name. Again, AI theme. Tried to pop higher here through the 21 EMA, held this base pivot really nicely, consolidated versus the 50 SMA, moved higher, but then did pull back here on Friday. So watching for a little bit of stabilization here. Ideally, a tight range forms right at this level, and we pop higher from that and start to move up the right-hand side of this base that's forming here. And it's basically a base on base, but basically watching for a spot and basically wanting to be positioned as it reclaims that 21 EMA. That's kind of the key level that I'm watching here with ALAB. Definitely a name that can trend beautifully, and I've gotten some great trades out of this. This is probably one of my top stocks over the past few years. And definitely a name to keep on your watch list and see if there is a spot to get in as it continues to build out a setup. Tesla, sharp pullback to the 21 EMA, good bounce, basically watching for a tight area to form and, a reconfirmation of this trend here. This could take a little bit, so maybe actionable early next week. Maybe it takes 2-3 weeks if this does hold and build out a base here, but just a name to have on your radar, have on your focus list, keep tabs on every single day, and look for a potential setup as it emerges. So those are my focus list. That's my focus list into early next week. And let's run through some of the names you guys submitted for. So first of all, Shopify. Sorry guys, I can't speak today. First of all, Shopify. I'll slow down a little bit. We had a nice base breakout, range breakout here as well. And here is the base pivot. So first broke out of this range after pulling back into the pivot, push higher. You've got a nice intraday turn opportunity here. And the best possible scenario happened. We not only got the range breakout, but also the base breakout on the same day. So watching for continued trend. But for me, not necessarily actionable unless there's a spot against that pivot you're managing risk against. And ideally, you let the 10 EMA catch up to price, and then there'd be another tight entry here. But I love how RMV went to 0 right here during this range, and just a textbook range breakout that turned into the base breakout. So really nice look, but not necessarily actionable for me early next week unless you're aggressive and are trading follow through, or maybe an inside day that undercuts and reclaims the base pivot, closes well, and then follows through. But for me, not a name I'm going to be focusing on early next week. SOFI, strong name, good trend here, but now it's pulling back to the 50 SMA, so you could play it versus that level. This is the first pullback to the 50 SMA in quite some time, so watching for some type of respect for that level and push higher, reclaiming that 21 EMA, but we're kind of starting the left-hand side of a potential base here, 18% deep. So watching, again, just respect for this level and the build out of a base, and then you could use your trading a base playbook to play this name. But we'll see if it pops higher and immediately respects that 50 SMA or not. NBIS, like I said, similar to Coreweave, but trending nicely and definitely stronger. Short-term extended, there's no real setup here. The last good setup was maybe an undercut reclaim of this pivot, but we're about 15-20% higher from that level. A little bit of a fade, to end last week. We'll see if it pulls back a little bit. The next spot would be a 10 EMA pullback, and again, that's more of an aggressive swing trade type style than something I would want to build a whole new fresh position on. Really, the time to put on a position was back against the all-time high pivot here. As it pulled back constructively, that's when I highlighted it in the trade lab. And as we pushed off and even broke out of this range, the HVC, those were the ideal buy points. Now it's more about just holding it if you've got this trend, and maybe trading around your core position if you do favor that style. OSCR, nice breakout here from the tight area. Not much to say here. Again, not really actionable unless there's a 10 EMA pullback that's coming up pretty soon. But constructive action would be tight, range sideways, reconfirmation, or just strong follow through. If it reverses completely, that would be more suggestive of a failure. USAR, this is one I just did a write-up on for the Trade Lab, breaking down this setup, but really nice base breakout here. A range breakout a little bit early here. That's the benefit. Again, you can get in before the strong expansion, before most people are watching it. And I love how multiple pivots lined up for this name on this breakout here. And a classic base breakout to study and nice follow through. And this is just breaking out into all-time highs. So definitely short-term extended here. There's no real entry, but if this consolidates, pulls back to the 10 EMA, sets up another potential setup, I'll be watching this very closely, and definitely a swing trade type name for me. The ADR is 13%. That's pretty steep, but we'll see what happens with this theme in general, the rare earth metals. Snowflake, again, actionable on this day right here through the upside reversal. Now, gapped up, downside reversal, basically watching for constructive action, building this out above the 10 EMA, and ideally we get some reconfirmation, but not necessarily, completely actionable early next week unless you got a 10 EMA undercut and rally. ASTS, nice 10 EMA pullback range, RMV going to 0, but now short-term extended, breaking out of this base, looks very strong, but nothing much to do, no real low-risk entry for my style at least. TSM trending since the base breakout. Last spot was on this day right here for more of a swing trade type of entry. I'll draw in that pivot here. And now is just kind of a no man's land, just trending strongly and acting well. But again, just because the name is trending doesn't mean there's a setup. So that's kind of the differentiation you have to make is, yes, a name can be strong, it can be acting well, but that doesn't mean that it's the best risk reward spot to enter that name. Uber, Lyft looks a lot better in my end, on my side. This name for me has always been a choppy trader and doesn't really follow through and make super strong trends. But just grinding higher here, pulling back into the 21 EMA, a little bit of tightness here. So this would be a potential pivot, but you have a lot of fades. Take a look at this fade, this fade, this fade as well. So again, just not a name I'd be really trading or interested in because of the overall character of the stock. But it is near an overall key level here, and we'll see if we can break through this pivot, break through this level, and then actually start a clean trend, because in the past it is capable of really nice moves, but you'd have to be able to hold on for the move, and that's where the character of the stock comes into the setup. MP, again, this theme, rare earths, is definitely one to focus on. Fade Friday, but overall nice push from a range breakout. And what I'd be watching for early next week is a pullback into the 21 EMA, constructive, low volume ideally, low volatility ideally, tightness, even 1 day of tightness would make this a valid range for me. If we get some type of tightness, an inside bar or upside reversal here off the 21 EMA, watching for follow through. And even reconfirmation Monday is a possibility. But for me, I'd be really interested if we get an upside reversal. I'll probably place it on my watch list and look for a range breakout here, but also against that 21 EMA. If we get an upside reversal, strong close, that would be a spot to get in low risk versus that low of the day. But we'll see what happens with this name. For me, not really a focus early next week, but if it matures, if that entry tactic, that range develops further, I'll be watching this one very, very closely. Okay, so that's a bunch of names in just a short amount of time. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Again, let me know maybe your top 3 ideas for next week down below in the comment section. If there's any names that you'd like to hear my take on, let me know as well. And hopefully you found this video helpful. There's been some great feedback recently, great comments. So thank you guys so much for all your input and questions as well. If you have any questions, let me know down below. And if you wouldn't mind, if you've watched this far, leaving a like on the video if you haven't yet, subscribe if you haven't yet as well. There'll be more great videos that I post next week, and I'll be sharing my updated watch list next weekend as well. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care. Bye.